Hi, I'm Effie, and it's that time of the month where I get to play my TBR game. If you're new to my TBR game, basically every month I play a game of Pokémon. At the moment I am working my way through Pokémon Arceus, and every Pokémon in the game has a type. Some Pokémon have a dual type, and I've assigned a prompt to each type, and based on which Pokemon I encounter, I will get prompts to pick my TBR for the month. As next month is going to be Whateverthon, I wanted to give myself a bit of freedom to kind of mood read and pick up the books that I was feeling during the month. So I'm going to be doing my TBR game a little bit differently this month. Usually I try to put physical books, obviously from behind me, on my TBR. However, this month I'm going to try and stick to graphic novels and manga and audiobooks. I don't know how well it's going to go, but I guess we'll see. I'm also filming this TBR game really quite early in the month, so I don't know if I'm going to have to put an extra book onto my June TBR as a punishment. So I will film an extra encounter, and if you see it in this video, it means I haven't completed my TBR for the month of May. I hope that all makes sense. But the first thing we need to do is open up a random number generator and find out where I need to start counting my Pokemon encounters in the game. So this month I played Pokemon for 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was quite a long game. I had an audiobook on and just kind of forgot about the world and ploughed through. So I need to put between 1 and 140 into the random number generator to find out at what point in the game I'm going to start counting my encounters. So generate number, and I need to start at 112 minutes into the game. Since that is quite far into the game and I may not have like the full number of encounters before the end of the game, I will loop back around to the start if I need to. So let's crack on. I'm just going to say before I jump into the game that I chat a lot in this video, so if you want to jump ahead through the playthrough portions of this video, I will have timestamps in the description, and I'm not going to be offended if you don't want to watch the playthrough bits and just want to see what books I pick. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so I think I'd progress to the final kind of area that you open up in the game. I'm not sure how far I actually am in the storyline, but I'm in this kind of like icy area, and I don't know, there's a topless dude in an icy area for some reason, and I think that they're saying that I need to fly to get to the next location, so they need to give me another Pokemon that I can kind of travel on. Not completely sure. I just kind of do what it seems to tell me to do, I guess. I'm not sure how many encounters I had, because I feel like at this point I was just chasing this character in the game, because I'd been playing for quite a long time at this point and just kind of wanted to progress. and you can see I was struggling to figure out how to get up this slope for some reason. Clearly my brain wasn't fully engaged. I don't know if you've seen yet, but my character in the game is just called Cakes. Because one of my friends years ago decided to give me the nickname of Effie Cakes. And occasionally I just go by Cakes. I'm not really sure there's much to say about this interaction. I really like this character. I think Sabi, I'm not sure how it's pronounced because obviously like the characters don't speak or don't speak out loud in this game, but I really like the way that he, I'm not sure, is depicted with the really cool hair, and just generally they look quite kawaii. Yeah, so at this point I'm just kind of chasing, I'm going to say it's Sabi, but I'm not sure, across this icy area. I decided to go on the back of my Weirder? No, it's not Weirder. I can't remember what that Pokemon is, but basically I was using the Pokemon to get across this terrain quicker. And it's kind of a fun landscape, especially when you're trying to figure out how you get up it and sort of navigating the different Pokemon that you need to use to carry you across the landscape. I think it's quite fun as well that because you have to reach certain points in the game to get these Pokemon that opens up these different areas for you. You have this ability to keep going back to different places and exploring more and more, which makes this game like a very fun game to sandbox and explore. This was a mildly frustrating point in the game, like just having to repeatedly chase this character down. And then I think after you have to like keep chasing them, you then have a puzzle to solve. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is speed this up because I don't think I encounter any Pokemon like until I fully catch up with this character. Okay, so I've just sped up the gameplay footage because, as I said, I don't think I had any Pokemon encounters, and clearly I haven't got much to say about this particular aspect of the game. I fell in this random cavern at one point. That was weird. But yeah, I was just kind of racing across the landscape to try and catch up with this character because I wanted to have the Pokemon that I could fly with. I don't know, I didn't actually get to that point of the game. Like, I completed this little bit of like chasing down the character, and by the time I'd done that, I'd finished my audiobook, so that was the point that I saved my game. Okay, so I'm now at the temple, and this bit's a little bit different in that you've got a puzzle you need to solve to make it through, which is it feels like it's quite different from anything that you've encountered in the game so far. And I liked the fact that you kind of had to keep, what am I trying to say? Like, you had to really think about it and puzzle it out. Like, it's not a horribly difficult puzzle to solve, but it did require a little bit of thinking to figure out how you actually progress to the next stage of the game. And as you can see, I'm trying to figure out what you're meant to do. And I think I failed the first time I tried to get through this, because I think I knew what I was meant to do, but I didn't quite figure it out first time around. But I think I very quickly was like, oh, okay, that's what I need to do. And yeah, I think there's 3 different puzzles to the temple. So you've got this one where you only have like 3 statues you've got to figure out. And then I think there's 2 that are 6, but I could be wrong. And then I think I actually encounter some Pokemon the other side of this. But I am a little bit, oh yeah, I was trying to figure it out because they're sort of in a different layout. Because the first one only having 3, I thought, oh, I'm only going to need 3, but actually you need a lot more. So it took me a wee minute to figure this out. At the other side of this puzzle, getting through the temple, I found a wisp. That's brilliant. I had to battle like 3 Pokemon at once, so that was a challenge. Like, I know what's coming, and I'm not sure how I'm going to approach it, because, as I say, it was like 3 Pokemon at once. So do I count that as 3 encounters? Do I count it as 1 encounter that I've got to pick 3 books for? I guess we'll see, because I can't remember the exact Pokemon that I encountered, but obviously if they're all the same type, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll just kind of put all the prompts together and see what I come up with. But I think this was the last puzzle, and it was like definitely the hardest one, because you had, in like the previous stages of the puzzle, you went past the statues before getting to that door thing. Whereas with this one, you kind of saw the door straight away and then had to go and find the statues. And you had to kind of work backwards to figure out where the statues started. So a little bit tricky, a little bit pushing your mind, but I think it's probably not too difficult, but I think it could be a little bit challenging if you are a younger player of this game. Especially because there's an element of remembering, and like I say, it is a little bit of a puzzle. The first door to come through was definitely the easiest one, and I think it's done in such a way that you can figure out the pattern with the first door, and then you kind of know what you have to do in these 2 harder rooms. And yes, so that was the last of the puzzles. And now I think I've got, yes, I think I've actually got an encounter, yes. So we have our first encounter, and the first Pokemon that I encountered was a Gallade, which is a psychic fighting type. So for a psychic type book, I need to open up YouTube, and the first booktuber that I see, I have to either pick a book that they've recommended or that I think that they would like if I know their reading taste. And for a fighting type, I need to pick a book outside of my comfort zone. So I guess we will open up YouTube and see where we go. Okay, so I'm just opening up YouTube. Apparently I'm getting lots of notifications, sorry about that. And let's see who the first booktuber I see is. And it is Becca. Although, I'm so sorry. I should have turned my phone on silent. Yeah, so it's Becca, but Ashley's also in the video. So I feel like for Becca, because it is her channel, I should pick something that is shoosh. That is like high fantasy, possibly? Or does she read Grimdark? I don't know. I think what I want to pop on there is Robin Hobb. I feel like Robin Hobb is the appropriate choice. I'm just going to check that it's on script, but if it is, that's going to be my first pick. I've actually changed my mind because I have the host favourites graphic and I realised that I could actually pick a host fave because obviously Becca's one of the hosts for Whateverthon. So I'm going to be reading, or rather listening to, Red Rising. So that is my first book. And I guess let's see what my next encounter is. So basically I realised that Gallade was just way too overpowered for me to try and battle. So I just ran away from that. And let's see what I'm running towards. I think I'm running towards Sabby and a battle with Sabby's Pokemon. Okay, so I think she's about to send out her Pokemon. And let's see. My next encounter was a battle where I had to face 3 Pokemon at once. Those 3 Pokemon were Rhyperior, Magmortar, and Electrovir. And between them, I had the types Ground, Rock, Electric, and Fire. And I know I faced them twice. So I'm going to count the 3 Pokemon at once as a single encounter. And the 2 battles as like 2. So basically I'm going to assign books to each of those prompts twice, if that makes sense. So for a ground type I needed non-fiction. So for the first encounter, whatever, I am going to assign Girls Can Kiss Now. Which I think is an essay on the author's experience of growing up queer. I'm not really sure. It's on script, so I can listen to the audiobook. And for the rock type portion of that, I'm going to assign Blood Scion, which I recently got in a book box. But the audiobook, again, is on script. It's a recurring theme that all these books are on script. But for the second time I encountered that Pokemon, I'm going to assign the Inflatable Woman, which is this graphic novel. It is really chunky, but I think it only took me an hour or 2 to read it the first time around, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a story about this, how to explain it? It's kind of a love story, but it's kind of also this woman's battle with cancer. It's a bit of a memoir. It's really beautiful. It made me tear up, and I'm looking forward to rereading it. For Fire, I need a hyped book, and for the prompt of Electric, I need a romance. So I'm going to group those 2 together once and put The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. I don't know much about it. I think it's a Regency period sapphic romance, I think. And then I'm going to split those 2 prompts for the other time, and for a hyped book, I'm going to read This Woven Kingdom, and for romance, I'm going to read Last Night. That's a lot of books, and I've realised that I haven't actually told you what any of these books are about, so I will do that at the end of this video. And I guess let's see what my next encounter was, which will be my 4th encounter. Okay, so I made it through that battle. It took me 2 attempts, but I did it. And now I am making my way to the roof to hopefully get my bird that'll let me fly around this game. It's a very cool looking bird. I love the flamey things that it's got, and I've got to battle it. For my 4th encounter, I had to battle a Braviary. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it is, sorry, still haven't silenced my phone, but it is a normal flying type. So I need to double check. Flying as witches, actually. So I need a book that's under 300 pages that features witches. Okay, this could be interesting because I'm primarily looking at audiobooks. I'm going to have to double check page lengths. So I'm going to have a wee look and get back to you in a sec. It took a little bit of searching, but I have decided to put Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchen on. According to Storygraph, it is 275 pages long, which is the perfect length. Hi, editing me. So it's about a week and a half after I filmed my TBR, and I realised that I needed to add an extra encounter in, as I obviously encountered the same Pokemon multiple times. Thankfully, I've started my final book of my TBR, which means that I count it as a success as long as I've started all of the books in the month. I don't have to take a punishment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 5th encounter that originally was going to be if I didn't complete my TBR, and use that as the sort of punishment, forfeit, whatever you want to call it, for encountering the same Pokemon twice. So I ended up doubling back to the start of my game, and at the moment I'm just kind of wandering around gathering resources, and it's a Pokemon, and it is a Bronzor. So a Bronzor is a steel psychic type, and for some reason steel is to read one of my Terry Pratchett books, and we already know that psychic is the prompt where I have to go to YouTube and see what a booktuber would pick. So this could be interesting, because if the first booktuber I pick isn't a Pratchett fan, I'm a little bit stuck. Well, not stuck, it just means I'll have to add 2 more books onto my TBR, which is brilliant. So let's see who I get. Let's open up YouTube, and we're not going to count that because that's just from when I previously opened it. So I'm going to scroll up to the top and refresh. And the first person I see is Kayla, and I feel like she would almost definitely not read Pratchett, but then I don't know because she's got such an eclectic reading taste. I don't know, I feel like it's really hard to pinpoint Kayla's reading taste, but I do know that she's read Queen of Tiles recently, so I'm going to pop that on my TBR. And as for a Pratchett, I don't know. It's difficult because part of me wants to start reading the Pratchett's from the start, and part of me wants to pick a Pratchett that I really like. I don't know. Why is this the hardest decision of the whole video? I think what I'm going to do is put The Colour of Magic on, which is, in terms of publishing order, it's the first book in the Discworld series. A lot of people don't recommend starting with this book, but I want to start at book 1 and work my way through to 34, I think. Was it 44? I don't know. But if you've seen any of my videos, I own the whole Discworld Collector's Library, and I would like to work my way through. So I'm going to pop The Colour of Magic on, and yeah, that's not too bad because that's only my second physical book that I popped on my TBR, and the other one is a graphic novel that I know I'll read quite quickly. Yeah, I'm not too mad, I guess. So that is my TBR. It's a little bit different, as I said, because it's primarily audiobooks, but I feel fairly confident I should be able to get through all of those audiobooks and some more in the month of June. I'm quite happy that I only had to put one physical book on, or 2 if I ended up having to add an extra book because I didn't finish my May TBR. I do have one more book to add to my TBR, and then I will do a quick rundown of all of the books that made it onto my June TBR, and I'll also be trying to read as many sort of just generally queer books and host favourites for Whateverthon during the month of June. So the final book that I need to add is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. So this is my buddy read with the amazing Shannon over at Head in the Books for the month of June. It has been described as a big gay hug. I've heard it is really cute. However, I'm very aware of the criticism of this book, and I guess as part of my reading of it, I will be looking more into the criticism that obviously has been rightly put against this book. Oh wow, V. Schwab has blurbed it and literally described it as like being wrapped up in a big gay blanket. That sounds adorable. I'm not 100% sure what this is about. Beyond obviously the critiques and the comparisons. So basically it follows a character called Linus whose job is to monitor orphanages, and he goes to a particular one where the Antichrist is living, and he has to try and figure out if the Antichrist is going to bring about the end of days, but ends up kind of falling in love with the guy who... Sorry, that's my phone again. I clearly have been very disorganized tonight. So he ends up falling in love with the guy that runs the orphanage or looks after the orphanage. It sounds really sweet, but obviously I will go in with a mind of the inspiration and do some research on the 60s scoop as well. So the other books I've got on my list, I've got Red Rising, which I try to think how it's been described, because obviously I don't want to look too deeply into these books and get spoiled, but I believe essentially it's a dystopia where there's a class structure and the lower class has been told they need to mine this precious resource, and then it turns out that the precious resource is not necessary for the world anymore, and the lower class is basically just being given busy work and subjugated for no reason at all. I'm not sure if it's going to be the kind of thing that I'm going to enjoy. I do like a dystopia, but I've heard that it's a martial fantasy, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And we've got Girls Can Kiss Now, which, as you say, is apparently a collection of essays about the author's experience growing up queer with pop culture references and being a millennial. I'm not sure what to expect from it. I don't usually jibe with essays, but maybe in an audiobook format I will enjoy it a little bit more. And obviously I don't always hate collections of essays. I recently read an amazing book that was kind of like a collection of essays. I don't know. Sometimes the line can be a little bit blurry. And then we've got Blood Scion by Deborah Falaye. Hopefully I've not butchered it too badly. I did try and look it up. And basically it's inspired by Yoruba mythology. We've got a protagonist who has magic that she's got to keep a secret, and she gets forcibly conscripted into the army on her birthday, on her 15th birthday. It sounds like it's going to be challenging but also really interesting to read. Then we've got This Woven Kingdom by Tahari Mafi, which I think is Persian inspired. According to Google and Goodreads, in fact, it says clashing empires, forbidden romance, and a long forgotten queen destined to save her people. And it's meant to be an epic fantasy. I don't know much about it. I haven't actually read anything by Tahara Mafi, but I've heard amazing things about this book. And I've got an absolutely stunning copy from Illumicrate, so I'm really hoping that I do love it. And then we've got Last Night by, I'm gonna say it's Vari, but I don't know if it might be Mary. So yeah, Last Night by Vari McFarlane, and I think it's a second chance romance. I feel like the blurb doesn't give much away apart from the fact that it is a second chance romance, and the characters have been friends since they were 18 and now they're in the 30s. And it seems like there's some mutual pining going on. I'm not sure what to expect, but I seem to be enjoying romance at the moment. I used to be like, oh no, romance isn't my genre, but recently I've been really enjoying the romances that I've read, so I'm hoping I enjoy this one as well. And then, as I said, The Inflatable Woman is a kind of memoir about the author's experience with breast cancer. It is a little bit surreal at times, and there's a kind of romance to it. It's very difficult, like in places, and obviously it is very much focused on her cancer journey, and there's a lot of kind of feelings of isolation, but really enjoyable, and it'll be a reread for me. The next book I've got is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. I'm not 100% sure of the time period. It reads like it's potentially a Regency romance. There's talk of a countess, which puts it in that kind of period, possibly a little bit earlier, possibly Victorian. I don't know, but it sounds like it's going to be an interesting romance. I feel like the blurb doesn't give much away. It just kind of says that it's sapphic and it's something to do with translating a French astronomy textbook. Then we've got Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchen. It seems to be a story set in the 17th century at the height of witch trials, and it's apparently a fictionalized version of true events, and it's following the mother of Johann Kepler, as she is believed to be a witch, and I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of witchy trials going on. And the last two books on my TBR, obviously, I will only have added if I had to take punishment. So the first is The Colour of Magic by Terry Pratchett. This is the first book in the Discworld series, although you can kind of just dip in and out and read them any order you want. Although some of them are kind of a continuation of a story. It's been a while since I read it, but essentially you've got this guy that like turns up in Ankh-Morpork and he's a tourist and it's the first one they've had and everyone's kind of trying to scam him. And he's got this luggage that has many, many legs. And it's a bit silly, it's a bit fun, and just a really, I really enjoy it as an introduction to the world of Discworld. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but as I say, I really enjoy it. And the final book we've got is Queen of the Tiles by Hannah Olcaf. It revolves around Scrabble and solving the mystery behind the death of a Scrabble champion, which sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know if I am a little bit intimidated by my TBR for the month of June or if I'm actually kind of quite looking forward to getting started on it. But let me know what you think of my TBR. As always, if you think I've missed a really obvious prompt, do let me know. And let me know if you're participating in Whateverthon. I probably will put up some Whateverthon content at some point, so please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. Until next time, bye!
There's a place in